Hello everyone, I'm Ronnie. I'm a speech and language therapist specialising in bilingualism, and I write a blog called Multicultural Motherhood where I blog about speech and language issues, bilingualism and homeschooling. Every week or fortnight I do a Facebook Live answering some of your questions, and they could be questions about anything, speech and language difficulties, bilingualism or homeschooling. I'm happy to answer questions on all of those topics. I was doing 2 or 3 questions a week, but I think it might be easier for me to stick to one question each week now, just to make it easier for people to pick and choose which videos they want to look at. So the question today comes from Asma, and she has a 3-year-old daughter who is bilingual, and her daughter speaks Gujarati and English. And Asma would like to know how to introduce a third language to her daughter. So she wants to introduce, she says, Urdu or Hindi. What's the best way to do this? She doesn't have any support from her extended family, and she asks if she stops speaking Gujarati and just speaks Urdu, will her daughter forget Gujarati? And so what's the best way to introduce a third language? So first of all, it's really great that your 3-year-old speaks 2 languages already. That's really great that you've managed to do that. And you can absolutely introduce a third language. That's no problem at all. Before the age of 6, children pick up languages really, really easily. So before the age of 6, they're about 2 or 3 times they find it about 2 or 3 times easier to learn a language, and that gets more difficult as they get older. So after the age of about 6 or 7, they start to find it quite difficult, and up to the age of about 12, 13, they find it really more difficult after that. So introducing a third language at the age of 3 is really good. No, you should not stop speaking Gujarati to her. This is because even though kids are really good at picking up languages at a young age, they are also good at forgetting them. So if you stop speaking a language to her for a while, and if she's not hearing it from anyone else, then it is highly likely that she will forget it. So please don't stop speaking Gujarati to her. There are a couple of different ways that you could introduce a third language. The best thing would be if she's able to hear that language all the time from another person. But you say that your extended family are not able to help you with this. So what I would suggest is you could do something like alternate the days that you speak the languages. So one day you could speak Gujarati to her, and then the next day you could speak Urdu, and just keep going like that. Another thing you could do is you could speak different languages at different times of the day. For example, you could speak Gujarati at meal times and Urdu the rest of the time, or you could have Gujarati in the mornings and Urdu in the afternoon. Play around with it and see what feels best for you, or what fits into your routine best. The other thing that you probably need to know is what is the best way to introduce it. So you should just start speaking to her in it. If you are fluent in the language, then just start speaking to her. You might need to explain to her why you're doing this, because quite often young children can get quite upset when we start to speak a different language that they're not used to hearing us speaking. It's just not familiar to them at all. So what you should do is you should sit down with her and you should say that you're going to start speaking this new language, and you should give her the reasons why it's important to you that she hears this language and that she starts to learn this language, and hopefully she'll get used to that quite quickly. What you'll notice first is when you start to speak the language to her, she'll probably reply to you in the language that she usually speaks to you in. So if that's, I don't know whether that's Gujarati or Urdu, she'll probably just, if you speak to her in Urdu and she's not used to that, she'll probably just start speaking to you in Gujarati or English, whatever language she's used to speaking to you in. But after a while, the more she understands of Urdu, she will start to speak Urdu to you. Don't worry about that. She will pick it up quickly. The things that you should do is you should make it a really fun way. You should teach her in a really fun way. So you can play games, language games. Just when you're playing with toys, you can introduce the language. That's a really good way to introduce language, through play. Other good things are singing songs. Children learn language really well from songs. They really like that varied intonation and rhythm that comes with songs, and also the repetition in songs can be really good for them to get used to certain words and phrases, and learning lots of vocabulary there. The other thing that songs are really good at is teaching children about, well, it helps children with auditory memory, which is the ability to process, retain and recall the things that they hear. So songs and singing are really good for this. So if you know songs in the language that you're trying to get them to learn, then just sing the songs to them. If you don't know any songs, see if you can get some CDs with some children's music on in that language. Or another thing, if you find it quite difficult to find a CD, just look on YouTube, because there's normally loads of children's song videos on YouTube. Another way is reading books. Reading books are a really good way for children to learn language. So try and get some books in the target language, the language that you're trying to teach them. If you can't find any, it's fine. You can just use the books that you have at home already, and just look at the pictures. So you don't need to read the words. You can just look at the pictures and speak about the pictures in the target language. Count the things that you're seeing. Name all the objects in the book. That's a really good way for them to be hearing the target language. And what you should remember really at this age, as she's only 3, is speaking and listening is a lot more important than reading and writing. A lot of the time when people try to introduce a language to their child, they always start with learning the alphabet or learning to read and write. That's really not important at the age of 3. Reading, I would say, is more important once they get to about 5 or 6 years old. If they can speak and understand the language, that is a really good start, and that will help them with literacy skills in that language later on. So first of all, make sure that you're just concentrating on speaking and listening. And as I said, you can introduce reading and writing later on. So I hope that answers your question, and if anyone's got any more questions, please leave in the comments below or send me a message asking the question, and I'll try and do some of your questions next week. I'll try and answer some of them for you. I am going to put this video on YouTube, and I will also write it up in a blog post so you'll have all the information that you can read. So head over to my blog, www.multiculturalmotherhood.com, and you can see all of the posts I've written about speech and language issues and bilingualism and homeschooling. And like I said, like the video, and if you have any comments or any questions, then just leave them in the comments below. See you next time. Bye.